Your task is, at your group, in 5 minutes, I want you to come up with the ideal business for your group to launch based on the capabilities and expertise and passions that you have there. 5 minutes is not a lot of time for you to share that information and try to come up with something. Have fun with this. It can be anything at all. What is that company, that business, that your 5 or 6 people are ideally suited to launch? Okay? 5 minutes. Okay, let me have your attention up here. Now, first, I have to apologize. I'm not going to be able to hear from every one of these business opportunities, okay? Or that's all we will do for the rest of this time. So instead, though, can I get a couple volunteers to tell me what your business is? Oh, we've got a very excited group over here. So do we have a microphone that we can? Oh, okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay. So we don't have the name, but this is what it is. It's a sustainable dining cruise with hockey fans with a presentation of the impact of sports tourism with the guest speaker of Jonathan Tays.
All right. Yeah. Very excited. So we weren't clapping because we thought there was even more. It was just so exciting. So, okay, who else? Okay, in the back there.
So we had a lot of things that we wanted to focus on, but conglomerating them all together, we want to create an event program for families to come together to develop goals and help either raise money for a pet foundation or maybe a 5K, just helping the family work on a goal together.
Okay, great, fantastic. So sort of a family-based event work. Okay, yes?
Some of the qualities that we had were fishing, time management, family, listening, and food. So the business that we're starting is a family retreat lodge.
Oh, excellent. Fantastic. Yeah, I'll be there. Okay, maybe we can work together with the event planners. One more, over here. Okay, and all right. Sorry.
All right, so we thought of a company that would create VIP experiences at international music festivals.
Okay, great. Oh, and that would be so fun, wouldn't it? Okay, so for some of us. I guess others like, oh, I'd never want to do that. But okay, but here's the thing about this. I want to point out a couple things. Number one, what did it feel like to do this? Fun. I tell you what I immediately saw. Energy went up in the room. There was a lot of laughter, and it felt like you could have kept going with this. I will also say there's a good chance that a number of you are just slightly irritated that you don't get to report out to the rest of us what it is, okay? And that's actually good, right? That is that you were so excited about this, you want to share it with a larger group here. Is this how you get to create your teams in organizations? Starting with what we as a group are passionate about and then figuring out what we're going to do? No? No? Okay. Now I want you to remember how fun it was. And why was it fun? It's because it connected to each one of you personally. It gave you each a reason to be part of this. And what was also fun was trying to figure out what you had in common with everyone else on that team. Is there a way that we can capture some of that even though we don't have the opportunity to create our teams all the time around our passions here? And when I think about creating, I think about what we need to do is remember this. Remember this idea of how can I create engagement for each person and how can I make it fun this way, okay? In general, we need the right people for the right task and at the right time. And there is an order that matters. Each new task that your team is doing has a need for, you need to match task, ability, and then the people with that. So what's the task? What are the capabilities needed to do this task? Who are the people that have those capabilities? That is, in fact, what research tells us is the right order to do this in. So if we're trying to create a new team, the first thing we need to do is, do we actually even know what the goal is, what the task is? And as simple as that is, I'll tell you in the work I do teaching critical thinking, this is something that we often don't pay any attention to. We just assume we all know what the task is. Second, what is the ability? What are the skills needed to create that task? And then only after that do we say, who are the people that we ought to use to do this? That order of task, ability, person is the best order for us to work in, but it's not the order that we always see people building their teams in. What tends to happen? Who's available, I hear, right? Okay, so here's a task that we have to do. Who's available to do it? You know what? There might be a reason that person's available. Okay? So this is a problem in some ways, to do it this way. I will tell you my first experience in management, I was hired by a healthcare company in Baltimore, and it was a company that grew rapidly while I was there. In just a few years, we went from about 30 people to about 500 people. During that time, our CEO was promoting from within the analyst department because he felt like those were the people that knew what we were doing. So a year out of college, we bought a company that was 25 years old, and I was asked to integrate it into our company. I'm not even 25 years old, okay, at this time. And so what did I do? I have no clue what I was doing. I'd lost a lot of money for that company, I'm proud to say. But what he said was, John, create your team. What did I say as a clueless young 23-year-old? Yeah. Why don't you create? You know who's good. Why don't you create the team for me? So what did this brilliant CEO do? He sent an email around to his team saying, John needs some people for his team. Who do you have? So I got all those people that everyone was happy to finally get rid of to start this. So I've got basically a completely inexperienced leader who doesn't know what he's doing with a group of people that don't quite fit into their other teams. Okay, but unfortunately, that's an extreme example. But in general, this is often what we do. We say, all right, here's the task, who's available? Or we say, hey, I've got what's a task I can give these people to do? But we skip the middle step. And that's actually what I want you to keep in mind for all of this. And that is, we know, cognitively, that we should be thinking about what are the capabilities needed to do this task. But when it comes to actually forming our teams, we are very quick to forget that step. We just look at who's available. I will argue, though, that it's not just something that you do it when you start a team. When you're running with a team, your team continually has new tasks to do. I would argue that you need to keep doing this. Every time you have a new task, think, all right, what are the abilities that are needed? How am I going to reform my team? It's the same people, but maybe I assign them different roles for the new task. It's a 30-second exercise. On your commute into work, you say, all right, who are the, what is the task we need to do today? What are the capabilities that are needed? And only then am I going to start thinking about who the people are, okay? It's that middle step. Don't forget about thinking about expertise, okay? So that's one thing I want you to keep about in terms of the creating step of this that I think we know but we forget. And here's the problem with this, though. It's not enough to just create a team that have the right people on it. In some research that I did on knowledge movement and teams, one of the things that I found, this is basically what this I should probably rewrite this in English, so you don't have to try to read the whole thing that way. But we create cross-functional teams expecting that when a problem comes into the team, that is in an expert's domain, that we have someone on my team who's an expert in that we will go to that person for help on this question. What I found was that doesn't happen. Only 17% of the time, when we insert problems into teams where there is a noted expert on that problem in the team, does that team go to that person for help on it. More often what happens is people try to solve the problem on their own. All right? And why does this happen? Well, mostly because you don't want to bother that person. You know that person's very busy. But there's a second part of that, which is you also just think you can figure it out, that you're smart enough. And our risk when we bring teams together of highly successful people, they tend to be very smart people, and they know it. And they're the people that may be the least likely to seek out help from each other. So it's not enough to create a team of experts to work together unless we figure out a way to build a culture where it is okay and expected that you will seek out help. That's a hard thing to get people to do, and that gets back to the issue of trust as well, okay? And in fact, What we also found is when people do go seek help, why do they seek help? The number one reason, they're easy to get to. They're available. That's the number one reason people seek help from a given person. The number two reason, because I trust them. Whether I trust that they will sort of not make fun of me for not knowing, that it will not hold it against me, that I trust their judgment, I've worked with them enough, whatever it is, the word trust comes up. The third, it's because of something they know. And the fourth, it's because someone they know. When it comes to solving problems, anyone want to venture a guess? Which of these leads to the best solution of a problem? Okay, 2, I hear. And others? 3? In fact, it turns out 3 and 4 lead to the most direct, high-quality solutions for problems. Going to someone because of what? Because they actually know the answer to it, or you think they know the answer, or going to someone because of who they know, because then they can connect you with someone who does know the answer. This is what we find. Those, by far, lead to the highest solutions. The problem is we don't use those as our primary ways. Over 50% of the time, we found people use convenience and trust. Convenience being the main one. So I'm going to ask you to do a little quick critical thinking here. If we need people to go to other people on the team because of what they know and who they know, what can we do to get rid of going for the first 2 reasons? Any ideas? What's that? Combine them. What do you mean? All right, you win. I don't have anything to offer you here. There's a piece of paper up here I could offer to you. I don't know what's on it. But in fact, this is what we find. The best way to get people to go to people for what they know is you make convenience and trust not an issue. I need to make everyone on my team accessible, and I need to make it so everyone on my team trusts everyone. And that's the art of this. This is the hard thing. It's easy to say, hard to do. But if I can build that culture and I can build some way that the expectation is that everyone's available to everyone else in the team, it becomes expertise that we go to. Okay? So that's kind of the message here. It's why we care in some ways about convenience, is that I can't allow my expert on my team to hide and to be just too busy to help, because that just kind of defeats the purpose of having that person on the team. Okay? Okay, so that's how we think about these things. And we're not going to do this. I just wanted to provide it to you. Sort of what is a way, if you are working with an initiative, what are some of the things that you can do around this? I'll give you just a really quick exercise. It's really simple, which is you can take just either a commute into work, or even what's even better is maybe first 5 minutes of the work you're doing as a team. And just say, all right, what are the tasks that we're doing right now? What are the decisions we have to make? Let's list 3 or 4 of them. For each one of them, what are the capabilities needed? What are those abilities? It doesn't take long. If you do this as a group, the group itself gets to see, first of all, usually what the group gets to see is that, hey, you know what, we have the capabilities needed to do this task, so it sort of can build up that. There's also often 1 or 2 abilities that the group might be a little weak on. And that actually gives the group an opportunity to talk about that. Is there someone else we ought to bring in for this specific task? Maybe they're not a permanent member of our team, but we need their expertise for this task. If over time you do this and it's always the same ability that comes up, you start to generate an argument on why you need to hire someone new for your team or offer some sort of development to team members around that. So you start to get a track record.